So welcome guys to another video, and in this video we're going to talk about one of the most important things in task 1, because what I show in this video will be applicable in any task 1 type, I guess, except for maps and processes, right? So if you are planning to get a good score, you need to show the examiner that you understand the context in which the graph is given to you. You should be able to interpret the data given on the graphs. So we'll learn how to provide context, how to give context in task 1 when you're describing changes, when you're comparing numbers in general, right? So a mistake that I often see in students' reports is this. So let's look at this table. So the table shows the number of cars made in 3 countries in XYZ years, right? So what students do is that they see the countries, the categories, let's just say, and they see the years, and they do identify the type as well. But and they do identify the changes as well. Yeah, for example, if you look at Argentina, you can see that there's an increase, yeah, a huge increase. So to be able to talk about the changes, I recommend you watch the previous video. So so they say something like this, yeah, based on these changes, they end up writing a sentence like this. Argentina increased noticeably from 2003 to or let's include the numbers, yeah, 235 point this not point 1,088 to 466 089 between 2003 and 2009. This is an almost correct sentence. Yeah, I'm saying this is almost because there's a small, not small, quite serious mistake, I'd say. So the mistake is that everything is fine in this part. The problem is this. Now, if you remember, if you look at the first video, I mean the second video, the previous video, I wrote this. Yeah, the general appearance of verb sentence structures, for example, is this. Yeah, you say verb plus adverb. So there's no mistake in this sentence as well. Yeah, if you see verb plus adverb, right? I mean, this part is correct, but the mistake is in this part. So we need to be able to identify the x given in the formula, right? So this is how you should do. Firstly, you need to understand the context. And secondly, you need to be able to produce a sentence that makes sense in this specific context. Or how do we do that, right? We need to use words like this. These are, or let's say following are, the universal ways of giving context in task 1. And I'm saying universal ways because it can be done. I mean, these ways that I'm just going to show you can be used to describe any information, compare any information, describe any change in graphs where there are numbers. Yeah, so like chain charts, comparatives, and mixed. So you cannot do this basically in obviously in maps and processes. Yeah, because there will be no numbers. So you will use words like this. Yeah, the number of something, let's just say increased. Yeah, you can say the amount of something fell. You can say the proportion of something remained stable, or you can say the percentage of something fell or dropped, let's just say. Yeah. Or you can say the figure for something increased, or let's just say decreased. So these like increase, fell, remain stable, drop, decrease. These are just, random examples, right? So here's the thing. You need to know in which case you will use each one of these, sentence structures, let's just say. Yeah. Here you will use the word the number of with countable plural nouns. For example, you can say the number of cars, yeah, rose noticeably. You see, the number of cars, it's a plural and countable noun. Rose noticeably. We use the, verb sentence structure. Let's include some noun sentence structures here. Saw a fall, let's just say, yeah. Experienced a drop. Refer to the previous video if you're not, getting what's going on here. So, you cannot say this, yeah. Therefore, you cannot say the number of oil, rose or fell. You cannot say this, yeah. This is incorrect. So you can use the amount of something with uncountable nouns. Like water, what else? Oil, sugar, coffee. So these are, some of the examples for uncountable nouns. Yeah. For example, you can say the amount of water allocated or which was allocated to or for industrial use increased. So allocate for basically means give. And you can use the word proportion with use this with percentages. So anything related to percentages, if the graph includes, percentages, you can use the word proportion. So the same thing happens with percentage, and the figure for this is universal. And can be used to replace any of the above, let's just say. So here we have seen these four words, yeah, sentence structures, let's just say, yeah. And you can replace any one of these, yeah, instead of the proportion, instead of the amount, instead of percentage, instead of the number of, you can use the word the figure for. It's a universal thing, yeah. For example, the figure for men, you can say the figure for sugar or coffee. You can say that the figure for, you can even use it with percentages as well, yeah. So to give context in task one, you can use one of these depending on the context as well, yeah. So first off, you need to identify what's going on, yeah. Here in this context, it's about cars. So it's a plural countable noun. It means that you can use the number of, or you can say the figure for. You can use these universal ways of providing context in task one if you're talking about cars, which is a countable and plural noun. So instead of saying this, yeah, you would say something like this: the number of cars. So now here's the tricky part. So if you say the number of cars increased noticeably from X to Y, again, you're not providing enough context. So because you're not basically mentioning Argentina, right? So to provide context, if you are just starting to learn task one, ask this question. Yeah? I mean, this part is easy. Yeah? You just identify if the thing that you're talking about is a countable or uncountable noun, and you will use one of the, one of the options from here, from this list, and then you will just say it. Yeah, here I did the same thing. The number of cars. And then what I will do is that I can say, I should ask this question. Which cars? Which cars are you talking about? Answer this question. So to answer this question, you can use relative clauses. So I'm just going to show you different ways. Yeah, which were manufactured. Yeah, because the context said the question says made. Yeah, the number of cars made in 3 countries. So instead of made, I mean, you could have used made, of course, but to add some, to spice things up to make it more interesting, you can use its, synonyms such as manufacture. You can manufacture a car. You can also produce a car. So, uh, you can, you should add these things in your sentences. Yeah. So, here the number of cars. Which cars? Cars which were manufactured in where? Argentina. Increased noticeably from X to Y. Now that makes sense. Yeah? I used which were manufactured because that's a passive tense. Yeah? Cars did not manufacture themselves. Yeah, they should be done by someone else. So that's why I said cars which were manufactured. Okay, so it's important to be able to give context this way. Now I'm going to talk about another thing. Now, if you have learned this sentence structure, now we can talk about a more advanced way of saying this. Not advanced, just a different way, let's just say. And when you're talking about things and the action is in a passive tense like this, which were manufactured, yeah, you can basically edit this. I mean, erase this. So you can say the number of cars manufactured in Argentina. That makes total sense. The same thing with the previous sentence. Only if I'm just going to, only when you are using passive tenses. With active tenses, however, it's going to be different. Yeah. Okay. Now let's look at other examples. Yeah. So here I'd say I'm just going to give you a context. Let's just say, yeah. So let's use Simon again. Yeah. Imagine this. Yeah. Simon ate 2 kilograms of osh. Or just say 1 kilogram of osh on Monday. So, and then Simon ate, let's just say 4 kilograms of osh on Thursday. So, in this context, we're talking about osh, which is food. It means that it's an uncountable noun. So we say this, right? The amount of osh. So you see, like it's very simple. The amount of osh. And then we will answer, which osh are we talking about? So we say, which was eaten by Simon. What happened? 1 kilogram, 4 kilograms. So it's an increase. Yeah. So let's use a noun structure here. Yeah? Saw a dramatic rise from Monday to Thursday. See, very simple. The amount of osh, which was eaten by Simon. So again, it's a passive tense. It means that we can just erase this part. I'm not saying that you should erase it. I'm just saying that it's a different way of saying this. Yeah. Imagine you use this in a graph, and now you want to use the same sentence structure. So in that case, you can change it a little bit and use the second way. So I'm just going to give you another context. This time I will try to talk about something that happens in an active tense, yeah, not passive, because we have seen enough passives. So we say this, yeah. Uh, let's talk about museum, yeah. So let's say in 2000, 5,000 people visited a museum. In 2001, let's just say 3,000 people visited a museum. So in this case, you can see that there was a decrease, right? So let's identify the context here. So what is changing? It's about people. People is a countable plural noun. So we use the number of, or we can use the figure for. Figure for, let's just say people. So now we need to ask, which people? Yeah, we need to clarify this context. Yeah, which people? So with people, we don't use which, we use who, right? Who visited a museum? Decreased noticeably from 5,000 to 3,000 between 2000 and 2001. I mean, it's a very simple way of saying this. Yeah? So I used again the verb sentence structure. Yeah, decrease noticeably. Yeah? Remember this x plus verb plus adverb. I'm using this sentence structure. Yeah. So instead of use, let me include colors so that you can understand. Yeah? And this is yellow. So instead of X, I use this. This is basically the subject of the sentence, yeah? So past simple, remember past simple, yeah? Subject, verb, that's it. Subject, verb. So that's how you do it. So let's use other sentence structures as well with the same sentence. So let me just write it here so that it will be easier to see. So we can say this. Let's use there was and noun sentence structure. Yeah? There was a noticeable decrease from, or let's just say in the, again, the same thing, yeah? In the number of, or the figure for people who visited a museum from this thing. So do you remember the sentence structure? Yeah. In there was sentence structures. We would use the thing that changed, basically the X at the last in the last part of the sentence. This is what happened here. Or we can use this. There was another sentence structure. A noticeable decrease. Yeah, with a passive tense. Remember that? A noticeable decrease was observed in the number of people. Again, the same thing. So, now I'm going to show you another thing as well. With passives, if you just paid attention, we did this, yeah? The number of cars which were manufactured, and instead of saying that, we said the number of cars manufactured in Argentina, yeah? We can do the same thing with active tenses, but it's going to look a little different. So we say this. Instead of saying the number of people who visited, we can say this. The number of people, we omit the relative clause and say visiting. The number of people visiting a museum. This is only when the action is in an active tense. That's how you do it. I mean, it may not be, easily understandable if you're seeing this for the first time, but we're going to write many, many, many graphs together, and then I hope you will be easily able to pick this up learn this and use them in your reports as well. So we're done with the universal ways of giving context. We need to use the number of the figure for the proportion. And remember this, yeah, always after writing a particular sentence, read your sentence and ask this: am I giving enough context for the reader? Will the reader be able to understand the context from these sentences that I'm providing? You need to ask these questions all the time so that you can provide good context. So we're done talking about the universal ways of giving context. Now we're going to talk about non-universal ways of giving context. Let's just say, yeah. So hey, let's use this graph as well. Yeah, I almost forgot that we had this graph as well. So what's this? The number of international conferences in cities. Yeah, the universal, I mean, it's about the number of international conferences. Yeah, so it's a plural countable noun. It means that if you wanted to describe this using universal ways of giving context, you would say something like this. Yeah, the number of international conferences. Yes, let's look at the city C, yeah, because it increased from 1965 to 1995. So in order, let's say, rose dramatically from 0 to how many? Let's just say 28, around 28, from or between 1965 and 1995. So again, I use the verb sentence structure, and I also use the universal ways of giving giving context. Yeah. So you can sometimes use non-universal ways of giving context, but it's just going to be dependent on the graph itself. Yeah. For example, here I can use the word host. Yeah. For example, look at this. Yeah. In 1965, yeah, the city, I mean, I forgot to include the full context here. Yeah, the number of international conferences, because I didn't mention the city, yeah, held in, which were held in the city C rose dramatically. Yeah. So now I provided a full context. Now, if I wanted to use, let's just say, non-universal ways of providing context, I'd say something like this. Yeah. The city C hosted, yeah, in 1995, let's talk about it, around 28 conferences, international conferences in 1995. So instead of saying this, yeah, the number of conferences, so we can basically, omit which word here because it's a passive tense, yeah, held in city, the city C was around 28 in 1995. Yeah. Now let's compare these. I mean, both sentences express the same thing, which is, good. Yeah. But the first one uses a more original way of presenting the context, but the second one uses the universal way. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that you can do these things. And if you can do both, I mean, it's great. But if you cannot do the first one, which is, in my opinion, more challenging than the second one, it's all right as well. I think it's going to come with experience, with exposure. If you keep learning and learning and learning, analyzing more essays, and improving your general English level as well. So it's going to come to you naturally. Yeah. So so yeah, that's it. So here as well, yeah. Then instead of saying this, yeah, look at this. Instead of saying the number of cars produced by Argentina increased over the years. Imagine you're describing the overview, yeah, for this graph, which we're going to learn in detail in the next videos. So instead of saying this, let's write this sentence. Let's include it here. Instead of saying the number of cars which were produced by Argentina or in Argentina rose over the years. Yeah, you can say this. I mean, it's completely okay. It uses a universal way of giving context. And instead of saying this, you can do this, yeah? Argentina uh, increased its car manufacture over the years. It's okay. Or you can, describe it even more simply. Yeah, Argentina produced more and more cars over the years. So here I don't use the words like the number of the figure for, and I added some originality to my reports. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying the second approach is better than the first one, because both are okay. Yeah, you should try to include both types of sentences in your reports. And yes, I understand that the second type is more challenging, but again, I repeat, it should come with experience. It should come with more exposure to the language. So that's it. I'm going to attach the tasks under this video, and you're going to try it out for yourself. So thank you guys for your attention. See you in the next videos.